Hi, so today I will be discussing about the best strategy that you can follow for mastering the map question for history optional. This question has become a bit difficult in last few years. UPSC has increased the level of challenge in this specific question, and that's why the marks in the paper 1 of history optional has declined for many students. I myself being the topper, having scored 168 marks in paper 1. Okay, I know which specific thing should be done for this specific paper and eventually how to increase your score or even use the skill of mapping in paper 1 as well as paper 2. Let us try to understand this. I'm going to address all the students, even if you're preparing for 24 or if you're preparing for 25, just try to understand each and every small thing of history optionals mapping paper. Let us start. So whenever we talk about the mapping paper, first we have to understand the overview, what the question is all about, because many of you would be completely fresh. Okay, so you require an overview. Second would be the components. The components are which kinds of challenges you're going to face in the mapping question. We'll have a look at that also. Third, we'll have a complete look at the trend analysis. Stay with me 2013 till 2023. We'll try to understand the trend of which kinds of keywords are being asked by UPSC the last 10-11 years. We'll also see the keywords and finally what the program that we are going to start with, how it's going to help you out. I'll discuss about that also. Okay, so let us start with the overview. So if I see this specific paper, okay, so marks which are allocated to this question, it's a question number 1 in paper 1, it is roughly around 50 marks. But if we see the importance of map paper, it's even more than that. Like making map in questions like Harappa, Vedic civilization, or for that matter, even in modern India as well as world history. If you know how to make map very quickly, this 50 marks you can easily understand, can extend up to 60 to 75 marks also. Because there are so many questions in which map is always applicable and वो अगर करना हमें सीख आ गए हैं तो बहुत फायदा मिलता है. But if we just go to the narrow boundary of this question, it is roughly only 50 marks. Then the number of sites which are asked, 20 sites will be asked in this question. And finally, if I talk about the theme of these sites, like Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic, majority of these sites are asked from the ancient India only. From before 2011, okay, the questions of mapping site were also asked from medieval India. But that pattern has changed now. Since 2013, I have hardly seen 1 or 2 sites which have come from medieval India. But 99% of the times, it is only from ancient India. So this is the overview for the new students and those who wish to prepare it rigorously. Okay, let us now try to go to the second part. So when I talk about the whole process of components, so किन किन चीज़ों में challenges आपको आने वाले हैं. So we have come up with this approach IIT, है ना, IIT बहुत famous है, तो कोशिश करते हैं उसके अंदर ही इसको relevance निकालने की. Number 1, like suppose whenever you're going to see any map question, the first challenge would be identification. UPSC will give you keywords and on the basis of them you have to identify which site it is. Okay, the first challenge becomes identification. If you're not able to identify the site, you'll get 0 marks, that is for sure. Second comes information. Okay, so if you are able to understand, let's suppose if Harappan site has been given and you're able to understand, okay, it is Mohenjo-daro, the second part would be writing the information part, which you have to write in 25 to 30 words. And third, the most important part of this whole mapping question is timely completion. Try to understand that if you're going to take 45 minutes in the completion of this 50 mark question, it's going to destabilize your whole paper 1. That's why finishing the paper within 25 to 30 minutes is something which is going to be required. All right, so these are the 3 things which I'll discuss about mainly when we'll talk about the component. Let us start with the first one. Okay, so please follow me. Try to understand ये क्या दिक्कतें आने वाली हैं इसको करने में और कैसे इसको improve करना. First one would be the identification challenge. In identification, there are 3 prime challenges. First is the nature of map itself. If the map is physical, there are different sets of positive negatives that we have. If map is political, again, different kinds of positive negatives. We'll discuss that. Second, keyword identification. Sometimes what is going to happen, UPSC is not going to use the word Neolithic site. What they will say, early agricultural center. Sometimes they can say a site of botanical remains. So what happens as a result of this? As a result of this, Even if you know the site, it becomes difficult to identify this. Like this here, they asked a terracotta site. The site was Kannauj. If they had written the site of tripartite struggle, everybody would have known it was Kannauj. But since terracotta was written, it's very difficult to identify. And third, which is the most important part, is period-wise segmentation. Sometimes two sites, okay, they will be in the same district, but they belong to the different periods. Let me just give you a brief example about this. Like suppose when you talk about Kashmir Valley, from Paleolithic, the most famous site is Pahalgam. Kashmir doesn't have the Mesolithic sites mainly. Then if we talk about Neolithic period, we have Burzahom and Gufkaral. But if they have asked Paleolithic site, you cannot write about Burzahom or Gufkaral because the Paleolithic site is Pahalgam. This is the third challenge which we face in the identification. Sites are very close by, but they are different as per the period. So please try to understand these three things. Let us see in detail. So if I see the advantages and disadvantages of the political map, try to understand. This is the map of 2023 paper. Majority of the sites which has been asked by UPSC, they are limited to this frame. Okay, this normally doesn't happen. Normally they will ask some sites from Afghanistan, some from Pakistan, at times one from Nepal or Bangladesh. Some sites are asked from northeast of India, but this time around the majority of the sites, they were limited in this. In fact, if you see Gujarat, 3 sites are asked directly from the Gujarat itself. In the political kind of map, the biggest issue that we face it, that suppose if you know two sites, okay, two sites specifically, and both these sites, they belong to any one state, like you know two states, two sites from here, okay, two sites which are in the Rajasthan, but the point is given just here in the boundary towards the Gujarat. So since it is a political map, you cannot mark this. You cannot mark a site from Rajasthan in Gujarat. It is very crystal clear that the site is in Gujarat. But if we change this map to physical, there the boundaries are not there. Since the state boundaries are not there, it becomes easy to write close by site. That is the first difference which I see in political versus physical. Okay, let us try to understand other differences. Then second, if we talk about the political map, here the easy thing would be to identification of sites. You can identify site even without making the grid. Grid is a pattern which most of us follow so that you can identify majority of the sites. Alright, and this helps in better accuracy. But in political, if you are able to understand the relative positioning, you can save 1 to 1.5 minutes in the final exam paper. But the problem is, even in the political, in 10 to 12, you can go without grid, but more than that, going without grid is next to impossible. Because many of the sites which are in the interior part of the state, they will be problematic. Similar case you can see even in the physical map. In physical map, you have to draw grid, it is mandatorily. Without this, it's next to impossible. Another thing which we can differentiate between the political map and the physical map. In the political map, when you're writing information, if you're mentioning the state, I don't think that is going to have any relevant part. Okay, like if you think it is situated in this state, so give me marks for that. Nobody is going to give you marks because it is already depicted. But here, the relevance is going to be there. That's why writing the districts becomes even more important in the case of political map, just in order to make sure that the information is having some kind of substance. Okay, that substance is relatively more in the case of the physical map. All right, so I hope all of you have understood that the first important challenge which you are trying to understand on the basis of identification, the nature of map can also affect your marks very easily. Political versus physical. Now let me give you one more important thing about this political and physical map. One important fact: political map was introduced only in 2020. After that, in 2021, UPSC switched back to physical map. In 2022, again they came back to political map. So in 23, all of us were thinking that they will ask the physical map, but again they did not change it and it remained political in nature. So it is very important for us to give more importance to the political map because UPSC is now clearly playing with us. Second part comes the keyword identification. Okay, so whenever we talk about keyword identification, we have to dig a little deeper. Okay, so I have done this analysis for all of you. Just Stay with me for next 5 minutes and you will understand everything. क्या किस तरीके से question आता है. Alright, so if I see all the keywords, we have reviewed all the keywords. On the one side there will be the type of sites, and on the other which type of keyword can be used to indicate that type of sites. So this is something which is very, very important for this exam. Alright, so suppose whenever they ask about fossil site, the keywords that they can use is fossil site, site of important fossils, even a prehistoric site, because keywords should be able to qualify. If they're able to qualify in more than one site, you can use it. Okay, like suppose if somebody is talking about Hathnora is a fossil site, or Odai is also a fossil site in Tamil Nadu, or Pune around the Mula Mutha river, that is also a fossil site. So fossil sites, these are the keywords which can be used by UPSC. Similarly for Paleolithic, okay, site which belong to the Paleolithic period, they may use Paleolithic site, Paleolithic and Mesolithic, Mesolithic and Chalcolithic sites. This is what is known as cultural sequence. Like if we see Chopani Mando, Upper Paleolithic, Mesolithic and some amount of Neolithic. So for such sites, they can even use this kind of keyword. Stone Age site, Paleolithic factory site. So factory, there are certain factory which are very famous. Luni industry is there, Nivasa industry is there. So those are the factory site. And Stone Age factory. Now this was used in 2023. So for every type of site, different types of keywords have been used by UPSC. In Mesolithic, again, you can see various kinds of keywords. Like this here, what they used was Mesolithic site or with burials. So they are just trying to complicate the keywords, the different categories of keywords. Okay. So if I see, there is not one or two categories, there are so many categories. Neolithic, within then we have Harappa, Chalcolithic, Megalithic, and within this different kinds of keyword, like in Megalithic, iron smelting workshop, that has been asked this time around. Inscription, for inscription they can use historical site, inscription site. Brahmadea village, that is a famous village of Uttaramerur, okay, in site of Ashoka inscription, early inscription site, Satavana inscription site, minor rock inscription of Ashoka. Coin has become a very famous category from last few years. So they are asking about the hoards of coins, okay. The coin hoard, first coin hoard of a dynasty, hoard of a Gupta coin. Then other categories of hoards are also there. Ivory hoard, okay, so this was also asked. Then hoard of metal sculpture. So UPSC is asking about hoards. Hoards has become a very important category, and within there are multiple types of keywords that we can see. For capital city, they may ask any kind of keyword: capital of a kingdom, ancient capital, cultural center, political center, earliest Satavana capital, capital of Metrika dynasty. This year around, they just directly ask, it is the capital of Metrika dynasty. So everybody knows about Vallabhi. So you should have that kind of basic level information for the map paper. Caves, historical cave, prehistoric site, ancient cave painting, ancient petroglyph site. So petroglyphs, two categories of caves are there: natural caves versus the man-made caves. Okay, so both have been asked by UPSC. This category remains very, very important. Within temple site, there is lots of categories. Just basic temple site, Shiva temple, Vishnu temple, other deities, brick temple site, rock cut temple site. Within Buddhist site, there are so many categories: stupa, monastery, Buddhist center, Jaina also, Jaina temple, monastery, port cities, education center, church, mosque, places related to the birthplace of important philosophers. Okay, like they asked about Shankaracharya in 2013. Terracotta art has become very, very prominent from last 2-3 years. School of Art, World Heritage Site, Shangam site, Fort site. 1 or 2 times they have also asked about fort, and some other miscellaneous site like Mauryan reservoirs, etc. So when we talk about the challenge of identification, so in this document is going to become very, very important for all of you. We are going to share this with all of you so that you don't have to waste your time. All right, so let us just go back to our discussion. We had already discussed about the first 3 major challenges of identification. The first one, it was about the different types of map. It could be political or physical. Then we talked about the specific sites, and then the last we talked about the keywords. Now let us see what kind of challenges do we find when we talk about the information. Look, when we talk about information, there are so many sites. There are 700, 800 sites which we have for this paper. But do you think you can remember information for all 700 of them? That is sheer madness. It's not possible, and you're going to waste a lot of time. That's why the best structure for information is you should limit yourself to 150 important sites And for that, we can remember the specific information. Like, let me give you an example of Mohenjo-daro. So at Mohenjo-daro, the specific information is like the dancing girl is there. Okay, so that is a specific information. Or we find the great bath, that also becomes a specific information. But there can be certain generic information which can be used for the all of Harappan period. Okay, like if you talk about the city planning, then you have to remember it is divided into two parts, the lower town and the citadel. Some sites have exceptions, like we have the Dholavira, which also has a middle town. At Dholavira, if we see Dholavira as an example, specific information could be Dholavira signboard. Okay, specific information. So you have to make sure that for important 150 site, we should remember 30 words exactly. But for the rest, we can remember the generic information. But this generic information should also have certain technical information. It cannot be like you're writing about Neolithic period, Neolithic tools have been found, Paleolithic tools have been found. That doesn't make any sense. Like if suppose you have to write about pottery, okay, pottery mostly comes during the Neolithic period. In Mesolithic, we have only few examples. So you can just write a ceramic and ceramic phase have been found at this place. It means without pottery phase as well as with pottery phase, both have been found. So this is how we create generic information for each and every period. Like these 28 category. For fossil site, we can remember 2, 3, Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic. So that whenever these sites are going to come in the exam, whenever we cannot remember the specific information, we can use the generic information. So please try to make sure that you divide your preparation like this. If you're going to think that you can remember for 700, that is not required for this exam. And secondly, it's going to be a very difficult task, and this task which is going to waste a lot of your time. In fact, GS का पूरा preparation को unbalance कर देगा. And whenever we talk about good information, remember the profile of site, location, district should be remembered, key findings. Like suppose if it is prehistoric site, okay, or it talks about Hathanora, so you should know what specific fossil have been found at that place, for famous sites at least. Finally, if some have current significance, some has been declared a WH, you can say World Heritage Site, okay, so that current significance can also be remembered for some of the sites which have been in a part of that. So in remembering information is very important. Divided into two parts, specific and the generic part. But the generic part should not be too shallow. Like I have given you various examples. Okay, so please keep that in mind. Then comes the most important part, time. How much time should be given to the preparation of map? So there are two parts of timing. One is the preparation phase, when you have to make which, so you have to look for sources, how to create notes, etc., etc., all those parts. Second part for this is going to be the execution phase in the final exam. So let me give you some strict kind of information for this. So preparation phase, what should be the reference material? Look, if we see the mapping questions of 2023, many of the sites, the keywords, they were not even in your Upinder Singh, not in IGNOU, not in any major book. It was asked from the findings of Archaeological Survey of India. Okay, so if we talk about what should be the reference material, yes, books like Upinder Singh, NCRT, and your BA IGNOU, these should be the material, or even Romila Thapar, some maps are given at the end of it. Reference material is always going to be these books, but are they enough in the current part? I would say no in some cases, but at least this should be the starting step. Second, what should you have to do? How to have to make notes? So first of all, you have to create period wise sites list. That for Paleolithic, these are the 15-20 sites. For Mesolithic, these are 10 sites. For Neolithic, these are the 30 sites. So that should be done. How to test your skill? Then it will be the later part. Okay, so what would be the preparation part? In the preparation part, you have to first choose the reference material. Second, you have to choose specifically which specific sites are going to be part of the which phase. Like in Paleolithic, all of us know Pahalgam is an important site, Huski is an important site, Bhimbhetka, Adamgarh, these are the important sites. Some sites have cultural sequence also. It means they'll become part of Paleolithic part, Mesolithic as well as Neolithic. And some will be only for Paleolithic and Mesolithic. So when you make notes, make sure that you focus on these 2-3 things. Okay, keep the reference material very to the point. Second, create specific map for Paleolithic, Mesolithic. हर किसी के लिए अलग अलग map बनाओ. And finally, to test your skill, join a test series. If you are not going to do that in the preparation phase, eventually you will not be able to do even in the final exam. And this is how it is. Okay. when it comes to execution phase, okay, so how much time would you take? So not more than 30 minutes, at max we can take is 35 minutes, उससे ज़्यादा नहीं लेना है. The moment you start breaching that time limit, you're compromising the quality of the rest of your answers of paper 1. So make sure that you limit itself to, like, best practice would be 25 to 28 minutes. Okay, I used to do it and it worked very well. And then how to handle difficult sites. Look, there are lots of suggestions. Whenever difficult site, like Kannauj for this time, okay, even if you do not know terracotta site, the exact point was that of Kannauj, but you can only know that if you make grid. Okay, so in order to handle difficult site, you have to do district profiling. You have to remember in which part of the state, left में कौन सा prominent district है, right में कौन सा prominent districts है. That relative understanding of the districts can help a lot when you're handling the difficult sites. Plus the interconnection between different categories of site. Like suppose in 2018 when I was writing the exam, they asked one question from the importance stupa. Okay, I did not know in Karnataka which is the famous stupa, but I remember that a very famous site of Ashoka major rock inscription is very nearby, Sanati. I just wrote it down. Okay, because there is an interconnection between Buddhism and Ashoka, and the answer was same. All right, so when you have to handle the difficult side, I'll give you a lot of examples in the class. All right, so this is how you handle them. Then if we see trends in mapping, just see this chart. We have created this with thorough research and I want all of you to have a look at it. All right, this is very important. If we see Paleolithic and Mesolithic, so in Paleolithic and Mesolithic, the number of sites are varying in 2018 from 1, 2, 2, 3, 2, 2. So दो के आसपास आप average लेके चल सकते हो in this part. Then comes Neolithic, Chalcolithic and Megalithic. They are very high number in 18, 5, 2, 2, 2 limit. Then from last 2 year 5 and 4. It means this is the area where you have to do a lot of emphasis. Neolithic, Chalcolithic and Megalithic. Points 0, 0. But now from last 4 years, one site every year. Harappan site 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, 2. So average could be around 2. Capital cities, political headquarters, there used to be a lot previously, but now they have reduced all the way up to 1. So a lot less emphasis is required here. Port cities is more or less constant, 1 or 0. In 2015 they had asked 2, but other than that only. This is the area: temple, architectural site, monasteries, mosque. See, 5, 4, 7, 5, 6, 4. So this is one category where I'll put a lot of emphasis. Second, Neolithic, Chalcolithic and Megalithic. If you see the number of sites, rock cut, every year they're asking 1. Inscription site 1 and 2. At max 2 to 3. 3 very high in 2019. Education center 0. Last 2 years they have not asked any site. So these are the majority of the sites which have been asked by UPSC under the different category. This is the overall trend which we have taken of last 6 years. Okay, save it with yourself and you'll understand that when you have to go for revision, which area you should revise first, and this is going to give you the clues regarding this. Okay, so I hope this you're able to understand. Keywords we have already discussed. Different types of keywords UPSC is coming up. I have told you, like Kannauj is a very famous site, okay, for the tripartite struggle, famous capital also, but they're asking terracotta, okay, site of mother and child, terracotta figure. So that is how it is creating difficulty for all of us. Neolithic site it is saying botanical remains. Okay, even in Mesolithic it is saying that Mesolithic site with burials. So it is trying to create a lot of confusion for us. So we have to do a lot of thorough research. Okay, and if you're going to do this thorough research with the help of various books that we have at our disposal, we can also be ready for the next level of keywords which UPSC can ask in 2024 as well as 2025. So we are going to do this in our program. Okay, so this mapping program which is going to start very soon, it's going to have coverage of more than 700 plus sites. Grid making I'll teach you. Identification system will be specific. We'll optimize it with the help with the singular focus on political map. New categories map are going to come like terracotta site, coin hoards, etc., which were not part of the previous batches. Okay, list of most probable high yielding sites will be given to all of you before May. New techniques to fetch marks, like this time around my focus would be on district profiling also, so that when we do not know exactly, at least we can mark the district, and many times you're going to get marks for that. Okay, and last one, there will be template creation for each category of site. Information is very, very important. We do not have the luxury of time in the final exam. Okay, so that's why the whole analysis that I have done, this course is going to be part of both foundation course as well as the Sampoorna Kranti programs. Those of you who are part of it, don't worry, we're going to start with this and you're going to enjoy the process. Okay, this is what the preparation is all about. जितना ज़्यादा enjoy कर पाते हैं hard work के साथ में, the result आपके सामने हमेशा आ जाएगा. Alright, so take care. You can just leave this to me. I can handle this paper for you, specifically the map part. And for this, there are going to be roughly 6 to 7 classes. You have to be very attentive in them. If you're attentive, revised notes will be given to all of you. All right, and tests will also be given. All right, so that you can practice from now onwards. And I want all of you to take good care of this question, that if we can get 35 to 40 marks in this map question, yes, 2023 was a little bit of up and down because the way UPSC is behaving. All right, but now we can be more ready for these kinds of sites. We have to change ourselves. If we're not going to change ourselves, we're going to face these kinds of problems every second year. All right, so let us try our level best. This was the complete orientation of the map. I'm also going to come up with paper 1, paper 2. Both of those orientation will also be there for ancient, medieval, and then later on modern as well as world history. So keep on watching, try to understand. Before starting any part of the syllabus, it is very, very important to first understand ki karna kya hai. And these are the chances that I'm taking, okay, so that all of you can learn about it. All right, so all the very best. अच्छे से start करेंगे. If you have any specific query, you can always reach out to these numbers. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, okay, so for these kinds of videos. All the very best. Take care. समझो इन सारी चीज़ों को और इसके बेसिस पे एक अच्छी अपनी strategy create करो. Even if you're not becoming part of the any course, keep on understanding. Okay, these kinds of knowledge you're not going to find for History Optional on any other channel. And even we are going to come up with various important videos for the other part of civil services very soon. All right, so all the very best.